Back in 1993, a brand new cable channel launched at 6 a.m. with a simple goal: get people to watch other people cook. It was called TV Food Network, and it aired cooking shows, food tutorials, and recipe tips for whoever happened to be awake at the time. Nobody thought much of it back then, but it grew in popularity fast. By 1996, it dropped the TV from the name, and Food Network officially became a household brand. I know for me personally, growing up during that time, I viewed the Food Network as the channel you put on when there was nothing else to watch. It had this weird, comforting vibe to it that I low-key kind of appreciated. And now, living in this social media-driven world where some of the most popular content is food, cooking, and recipes, it wouldn't be a far stretch to say that the Food Network was, to a certain degree, ahead of its time. Over the years, the channel expanded beyond just cooking, turning chefs into full-blown TV personalities. Names like Emeril Lagasse, Rachel Ray, and Bobby Flay weren't just cooking on screen, they were building brands, becoming household names. And for a while, Food Network was kind of everywhere. Waiting rooms, family kitchens, break rooms at work, it sort of became this universal background noise. It wasn't just a channel anymore, it was sort of part of a bigger culture. It had that kind of reach, that unique kind of pull. But like with most things that blow up in popularity, growth brought more than just success. It brought problems too. Because behind the glossy shows and feel-good recipes was a track record of putting certain personalities front and center, even after they said or done some pretty wild things. Whether it was casual ignorance or full-blown controversy, the Food Network has had more than a few chefs whose actions have made headlines for all the wrong reasons. So today, I wanted to take a look at a few moments when some of the network's TV personalities found themselves at the center of controversy for comments or behaviors that went way past questionable. These are Food Network's racist chefs. Most people know Andrew Zimmer from his hit TV show Bizarre Foods, which, fair enough, aired mostly on the Travel Channel. But over the years, Zimmer has worked closely with Food Network personalities, and is often grouped in the same world of mainstream food television. He's even had shows like The Big Food Truck Tip and Andrew Zimmern's Driven by Food air on the Food Network itself. Zimmer's Food Network appearances mostly follow a similar format to what fans know him for: traveling, eating, and showcasing different cultures through food. Shows like The Big Food Truck Tip focused on small business owners in the food truck world, while Driven by Food had him exploring cities through the lens of locals, often highlighting immigrant and underrepresented communities. He was generally seen as someone who respected global cuisine and cultures, at least on the surface. His fans often praised him for being open-minded, curious, and willing to try anything once.
Oh. I can't do it. Wow.
But in 2018, Zimmer found himself under fire after making some controversial remarks while promoting his new restaurant, Lucky Cricket, a Chinese restaurant with a tiki bar located in a Minnesota suburb. In an interview with Fast Company, a media publication that often covers food and culture trends, he explained that the goal of the restaurant was to bring quote-unquote real Chinese food, things like hot chili oil, roast duck, and hand-cut noodles, to Middle America. Then he said something pretty wild.
Number one, I think I'm saving the souls of all the people from having to dine at these horse restaurants masquerading as Chinese food.
That line hit hard, and not in a good way. Critics accused Zimmer of dismissing Chinese American cuisine and erasing the cultural and historical context of immigrant-owned restaurants. Food editor Hilary Dixler pointed out that calling himself the one to quote-unquote get it right felt less like culinary ambition and more like cultural gatekeeping, especially coming from a white chef opening a chain in the Midwest, which I would have to agree with, to be honest. He eventually apologized on Facebook with a post stating, "The upset that is felt in the Chinese American community is reasonable, legitimate, and understandable." He added that he hoped to open people's eyes to the greatness of Chinese and Chinese American food and the people who cook it. Still, for many, the moment left a mark. And while Zimmer didn't face any major professional consequences, the controversy raised real questions about who gets to speak for a culture and who gets rewarded for doing so. Ree Drummond began her journey as a blogger in 2006, chronicling her life on an Oklahoma ranch. Her blog, The Pioneer Woman, quickly gained popularity, at its peak amassing approximately 23.3 million page views per month by 2011. That success quickly turned into a full-blown brand. cookbooks, a magazine, a cookware line sold at Walmart, and eventually a TV deal with the Food Network that same year. Her show, The Pioneer Woman, has been airing since 2011, boasting over 30 seasons and more than 400 episodes. The program features Drummond preparing hearty meals for her rancher husband and their children, all while showcasing the charm of rural life in Oklahoma. But one moment from her show had a lot of people, especially in the Asian American community, feeling that down-home charm came at someone else's expense. In a season 2 episode of The Pioneer Woman called The Big Game, Ree Drummond prepared a batch of Asian hot wings as part of a game day spread for her husband and his college friends. As she served the wings, the men reacted with visible discomfort.
Alright, here you go guys. Spicy Asian hot wings, just for you.
What is that? No, you need.
Where the other way?
Where's the real one?
Where the real one?
I don't trust them.
They smell good. They smell good though.
I'm just kidding, guys. I wouldn't do that to you.
Oh, there you go. Oh,
There you go. Oh yeah.
Oh, let's make this happen.
This segment sparked criticism from viewers and commentators who felt it perpetuated negative stereotypes about Asian cuisine and culture. The portrayal suggested that Asian-style food was untrustworthy or inferior, reinforcing harmful biases. The fact that this scene was scripted and produced for national television raised concerns about cultural sensitivity and representation. Asian food is a punchline. It's the setup to a joke, something you use to trick people before giving them the real stuff. That early episode moment resurfaced years later when the site Thick Dumpling Skin posted the clip and called it out for what it was, tone deaf at best and casually racist at worst. In their words, why must we watch non-Asian cooks who can't pronounce sriracha and don't have a chopstick drawer show us how to make our own dishes? And how come when they do, we have to watch as their entire family mocks it? Drummond never addressed the controversy publicly, and the Food Network didn't pull the episode. But for a lot of viewers, it became another example of how normalized these kind of microaggressions can be, especially on shows designed to feel comfortable.
Hey y'all, I'm Paula Dean.
Paula Dean is probably the most well-known example in this entire video. Her controversy made headlines across the country, not just because of what she said, but because, for years, she had been one of the Food Network's biggest success stories. At one point, she wasn't just a familiar face on TV, she was a household name. But she didn't just become a celebrity chef overnight. She built her reputation from the ground up, starting with a small catering business in Savannah, Georgia, called The Bag Lady, where she cooked out of her own kitchen and delivered meals with her sons. The business took off and eventually led her to opening the Lady and Sons restaurant, which became a major success and helped put her on the map. By the early 2000s, Dean's southern charm and butter-heavy comfort food had caught the attention of the Food Network. Her first show, Paula's Home Cooking, premiered in 2002, and it was a hit. She quickly became one of the channel's standout personalities, known for her friendly tone, big personality, and unapologetically rich recipes. At the height of her career, she wasn't just a cook, she was a media figure. Multiple shows, best-selling cookbooks, branded products, magazine covers, she was everywhere. Which is why when controversy hit in 2013, it hit hard. It started when Lisa Jackson, a former manager at one of Dean's restaurants, filed a lawsuit alleging racial and sexual discrimination in the workplace. At first, the case didn't get much attention, but once Dean's deposition was released to the public, it set off a media firestorm. In it, she openly admitted to using the N-word in the past, saying, quote, "of course," when asked if she had ever said it. She explained that she had used the word when describing an incident where a black man robbed the bank she used to work at, and said she may have used it again since then, though she couldn't recall when. But what really pushed things over the edge was a story she told during the deposition, about planning her brother's wedding. Dean recalled imagining a true Southern plantation-style wedding, with black servers dressed in long-sleeve white shirts, black shorts, and bow ties, referencing what she described as a Shirley Temple-era aesthetic. She laughed and said, quote, "Now that would be a true Southern wedding, wouldn't it? But we can't do that because the media would be on me about it." She later tried to clarify that she was referencing a restaurant she and her husband had visited, where the entire waitstaff was made up of older black men in formal wear. She said it looked impressive and that she simply admired the professionalism. But at that point, the damage was done. The story and the tone in which it was told made it impossible to ignore. The fallout came fast. Food Network dropped her, Walmart, Target, Smithfield Foods, QVC, Caesar Entertainment, and multiple publishers and sponsors all pulled out. At the same time, hashtag Paula's Best Dishes trended on Twitter as people called her out for what many saw as blatant racism, outdated thinking, and a complete lack of awareness. And just when the dust started to settle, a second controversy came back to haunt her. In 2015, a photo resurfaced from a 2011 Halloween episode of Paula's Best Dishes, where Paula was dressed as Lucille Ball and her son Bobby was dressed as Desi Arnaz in full brown face makeup. It was meant to be a tribute to I Love Lucy, but it landed as another moment of racial insensitivity. The photo, along with a tweet mimicking Arnaz's accent, was quickly taken down, but the criticism returned. Through it all, Dean apologized multiple times, saying she never meant to offend anyone and that she had grown since her earlier days. But for many people, honesty wasn't the issue. The issue was what she said and how casually she seemed to say it. And while she may have maintained a loyal fan base and even saw a spike in cookbook sales after the scandal, funnily enough, the mainstream world she once dominated never really welcomed her back. Food Network Star has always been one of the channel's biggest platforms for launching new talent. Since it premiered in 2005, the show's concept has been simple. Home cooks and professional chefs compete for the ultimate prize, a show of their own on the Food Network. Over the years, it's produced some legit stars, Guy Fieri being the most obvious example, going from contestant to full-on media empire. But not every winner got the same follow-through. In season 10, which aired in 2014, the winner was a Colorado chef named Lenny McNab, better known as the Cowboy Chef. He stood out with his bold personality, down-home cooking, and this quirky cowboy persona that seemed tailor-made for TV. And with nearly 40 million viewers tuning in across the season, McNab's win felt like the start of something big. But that something never came. Not long after the finale aired, people online started digging into McNab's internet history. It didn't take long to find his old forum posts where he went by the name Chuck Wagon Cook. And what surfaced was a string of racist, derogatory comments and posts filled with slurs, stereotypes, and flat-out hateful language, often targeted at black people and other minorities. These weren't just edgy jokes or comments taken out of context. This was someone who regularly used offensive language in a public forum, completely unfiltered. One post even referenced wanting to host a themed dinner with blackface servers, echoing antebellum stereotypes in a way that felt almost deliberately inflammatory. On top of that, there were also misogynistic and homophobic comments throughout his posts. Casual slurs, sexually aggressive remarks, and even some directed at fellow Food Network personalities. One of the most widely shared examples was a comment he made about an earlier example in this video, Reed Drummond, which got called out across multiple food blogs at the time. McNab had an entire history of posting this stuff, going back years, and in many cases linking back to his appearances on other Food Network shows like Guy's Grocery Games. He was publicly associating with this persona while actively pursuing a career on the network. Once the story broke, the reaction was swift. Even though McNab had technically won Food Network Star, the network never aired his show. No pilot, no soft launch, no statement, just silence. In a year when Food Network was still recovering from the Paula Dean fallout, it seemed like the last thing they needed was another scandal. And this time, they didn't even try to clean it up, they just erased him. He became the first and pretty much only winner of the show to be quietly wiped away, scrubbed from promos, unmentioned in future seasons, and never heard from again.